and I got back to the bus, and one thing I really want to say, everything that I just said, COVID-19 test and the overnight hotel stay is completely free. So I did not pay for any of those coming out of our tax. And we got on the bus to the airport. When you get onto this bus, it's gonna take you back to Terminal 1 of the Incheon airport. So when you get to Incheon airport, in my personal case, I had to go all the way back to Busan. So people who go all the way back to Busan or other city, depending on the city, you sometimes have to take a bus or sometimes have to take your own personal car, or in my case, I had to take a train. And people who had to take a train from Seoul or Incheon have to go to Gwangmyeong Station. And from Gwangmyeong Station, you have to transfer to Busan. There is a bus that takes everyone from Incheon Terminal 1 to Gwangmyeong Station. I took that. It took about 40 minutes for us to get to Gwangmyeong Station. When you get to Gwangmyeong Station, they're gonna ask you which city you're trying to get off at. I told them Busan. And when you pay for the ticket for your train, you also have to pay for the bus ride you just took. So the bus ride was about 20 bucks Canadian, and train ride was about 40 or 50 bucks Canadian. It wasn't that expensive, I would say. Yeah. So I paid for both of them, and I waited for a few minutes. I heard people calling up others for the train, and I followed them down to the platform, and the stupidest thing happened. Okay, so by the time I got to Gwangmyeong Station, this is an excuse, but still, hear me out. I got to Gwangmyeong Station. I had migraine, because I have migraine almost every day. I was dizzy because of the mask. I've been wearing it for almost 2 days straight. That is like 40 hours. And I was super hungry. I was starved since like 7 a.m. Even before 7 a.m. I would say, because I was only able to have like quarter of the bread slice. They did give me a breakfast, but it was a tomato sandwich, and I hate tomato, so I was only able to have a bread. But yeah, so I like all those munched in. I think I was just confused. So I got on to the wrong train. Hooray! Yeah. I didn't even notice that there were 3 or 4 people checking our ticket before we get onto the train. Nobody noticed it. When I got onto the train, there was a train police walking around checking our tickets. I gave him my ticket for the checkup, and he told me that I'm not supposed to be on this train. I was freaking out. He told me that I have to get off the next train station. So I got off the next train station, which was Cheonan Asan Station. When I got to Cheonan Asan Station, I think they weren't expecting me as a +1 entrant. They told me that I'm not supposed to get off there. I have to get back on the train, and all the talk. I was confused. I just didn't really contain all the information. It was just yep. So we did that, and I think they just decided that I can't just stand there forever for the entire day. They took me to this tent downstairs. They told me that I have to wait there until they find a train that actually do go to Busan. At the time, I was like kind of crying. I was tearing up. I was scared. I was so sorry for everyone, because I kind of saw everyone so frustrated because of my mistake, and yeah, and I waited there about 5 to 10 minutes, and one guy who helped me down to the tent came up to me and told me that they found a train back to Busan and it's gonna be in an hour. That was the time I was actually able to rest a little bit and just try not to think of anything and try not to stress myself too much. So after an hour, they escorted me back to the train, and even inside the train told me I can sit there, and they left. Thanks to them, I was able to get onto the right train and came to Busan in one piece. So, and one thing about the train in Korea. In Korea at this time during COVID-19 pandemic, they make sure that they leave one entire compartment of the train between the entrance from the foreign country and the non-entrance. So there will be 1 or 2 compartments at the very back of the train only for the entrance from the foreign country, and there will be 1 empty compartment with no one at all, just to make sure that there is no cross-contamination in between those and those. And at the very front, there will be normal people who've been living in Korea for longer than 2 weeks, I would say. So yeah, because of that, all the entrants from foreign country have to get on the train at the very end of the compartment, and they're just gonna tell you where to sit and where you can go, and which elevator you can take. When you get off Busan Station and when you get to the platform of Busan Station, they're going to ask you and they're going to divide you into someone who's going to take the personal vehicle back to the quarantining place and someone who's taking a private taxi. For my case, I came to this quarantine facility by private taxi. So I lined up for a taxi line, and there will be 2 or 3 people with all the disposable gown, gloves, mask, and goggles and everything escort you upstairs at the back of the Busan station. They're gonna take you there to get checked for COVID-19. You always have to get checked for COVID-19 before you leave to your own quarantine place in Busan. And for my case, I got checked for COVID-19 at the airport, and that was less than 24 hours apart from when I came to Busan. So I asked him about it, and he told me that I don't have to get checked again. I just had to show the glorious text I got from the COVID-19 result and the certificate that I did get checked for COVID-19 from which I got from the airport. So I showed him those 2, and I just had to wait for my private taxi. For this private taxi, there is a separate taxi from the regular taxi in Korea. This private taxi is only for the entrants that get into Korea and who's trying to get to the quarantining place. And I actually saw my private taxi coming towards Busan Station, and I saw them sterilize the entire taxi inside out, and the driver sanitizing his own hand, changing the mask and gown and glove right before I get into the taxi. So after doing all the sterilizing and sanitizing, they let me get on to the taxi. And the funny thing is, this place is less than 200 meters away from the Busan station. If I see it right there, I can literally jump out of here and get to Busan station. Is right there. And for someone who's not familiar with meters, it is 5 minutes. I wouldn't even say 5 minutes. It is like 2 or 3 minutes walk from Busan station. However, they don't want us to walk around if you're an entrant. So I had to take the taxi, and I didn't get charged for anything. It was less than a minute drive. So I didn't get charged, but I still had to take a taxi to the quarantine facility. And there's a separate entrance like me. We had to go to the 5th basement floor, and from there will be one governmental employee, I would say, and he's gonna help you to get checked into your room and get your room key, and even help you to pay for the quarantine facility if you haven't yet. So in my case, my parents did all of that already, and I was able to get to the quarantine facility in one piece, thanks to literally everyone, and especially those at Cheonanasan Station that helped this little lost slim that had no idea what she just did. I'm so grateful that you guys were there, and thank you so much for my parents for looking out for me and helping me to get here. Do not freak out. Don't get too worried if you get sorted out as symptomatic entrant, because there will be a lot of symptomatic entrants. I think they're just being really strict about the entrance in Korea. Okay, thank you so much for watching my long video, and let's see each other in the next video. Bye!